What is going on? Hold on. Let me tweet this thing out. What is going on, party people in the house? Happy Wednesday to you. Happy Wednesday night to you. Hope everyone's having a good time. Hope everyone's having a fantastic time. As you can see, Unc is not in his crib. Unc is definitely not in his crib. Unc is sitting here in a hotel room. I feel like it's weird. It's awkward. I feel like there's dark shadows everywhere. It's all these kind of crazy things are going on, but it doesn't matter because the show must go on. And this is time for your Drunk Uncle Sports Podcast. And I am your host, your Drunk Uncle, Amar Richardson. Happy Wednesday to you guys. You know what I always say? Listen, no matter what, if you've been having a bad week, it's about to get better. And if you've been having a good week, it's about to be even better than that because Unc is here in Arlington, Texas. It is hot as hell outside. Unfreaking real. Let me tell you, I looked on at my car when I came out of AT&T Stadium, took a picture of it. It said 107 on the dash. Like on the dash, this crap said 107. That's how hot it is here in Arlington, Texas. My freaking goodness. But nonetheless, I'm chilling here in the hotel room after day one of Big 12 Media Days, and I'm about to go and break it down and tell you guys everything that I kind of gleaned and learned from today. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. And by the way, this show is brought to you by my main man, El Presidente, Eric Sells Homes, DFW. I'm here. If you are looking for a home in the DFW area, you got to hit my main man up, Eric Sells Homes, DFW. He's the guy with the master plan. He is the guy that's got everything that you need. You're looking to sell a home. You're looking to buy a home. Like, he's the guy that's going to absolutely help you out. So hit my main man, El Presidente, up, Eric Torres. And by the way, do me a favor. It's El Presidente's birthday. This is birthday week, man. Let's wish El Presidente a happy birthday as he is out there in Vegas celebrating it, living it up, doing his damn thing. Happy birthday to you, El Presidente. I hope you're having a fantastic time and hope you don't lose all your money while you're out there. Say what's up to all you guys out there. I see Mike Harges is there. Lane is there. Bruce is there. I appreciate you. Someone needs to go and check for Rodolfo. Because if Rodolfo ain't here, something wrong. Something has happened. Maybe Rodolfo has a date, which would be amazing. Would love that for him. But nonetheless, y'all check on him. I'm worried about my man. I want to see where he's at. So Big 12 Media Days, is, like I said, it's happened. It's the final one, guys. It's the final Big 12 Media Days. This will be kind of the first of the last for everything Texas Longhorn related as relates to the Big 12. This will be the first of the last. And this is kind of the first thing where the first last, which would be the last Big 12 Media Days. Last time that we come here, last time we come to Arlington for this event specifically, not necessarily for Arlington overall, but for this event, it's done. It's done. Next week, Unc will be over in Nashville for SEC Media Days, and that's going to be our lives, and that's what we're going to be doing from now on. And so we'll get ready for that. But this is the last one here in Arlington. We'll miss it, right? To a certain degree. So, well, we'll talk about that in a second. By the way, I just wanted to make sure I make a quick mention before we get too far into the Big 12 Media Days. Texas. They received a commitment from Melvin Hills out of Lafayette, Louisiana, Texas. The University of Texas continues to go out of town, go out of state to find the guys and the players that they want, and they go ahead and pick up kind of a versatile defensive lineman. Had a chance to kind of, before the show, like analyze his tape, kind of break it down. Somebody compared him to kind of a Malcolm Roach. He's not like a tall guy like a Charles Omenihu or anything to that effect. It's not like a Puna Ford. Is somewhere in there, but very athletic. And so that was very, I think it ends up being a good pickup. The one thing you got to always remember as relates to the recruitment of offensive linemen and defensive linemen, just always remember this, keep this in mind. It's hard to find big guys who are very athletic. When you find big guys that are very athletic, you got to take them. It just is what it is. The John Gruden principle. When I covered the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you guys, as long as you watch the show, you will be able to finish sentences going forward, right? When I covered the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I was there with John Gruden. One of the things he always said was that, hey, there are not a lot of athletic 300-pound men walking the face of the earth. So when you get them, you got to take them. That's what his philosophy as relates to offensive linemen and defensive linemen. Obviously, this guy's not that big. He'll put on weight. He'll get bigger. But when you see big guys who are athletic and you see the athleticism on film, that's the thing. Like most big guys, you got to think about your high school team. And the big guys were on there. Sloppy. Right? You remember our high school team, the big guys, they all had the guts, say like that's was our high school team. Like we didn't have athletic big men. All our athletes, all our offensive linemen, they had the guts, and they would wear those t-shirts, right? You remember they used to wear the t-shirts and kind of cut it off so they could show their guts. Like that's what they were proud of. Like, man, we got guts and look how big we are. And then times have changed, and he said, oh man, like the dad bod ain't gonna cut it, right? So those things have changed. So that's the good thing about Melvin Hills. That's the good thing about the acquisition. And Texas continues to sign guys, continues to bring in guys. There was a time just not too many weeks ago where Texas only had 2 commits. And now the number just keeps going and going. And now you're at the point like, oh man, this class is getting full. It's crazy to me how many people were doubting Steve Sarkisian and his staff just a few weeks ago. It's crazy to me, almost a month ago, where people were saying to themselves, man, this what the heck is going to happen here? Are they still have it? Do they still have the mojo? All those kind of things. And the next thing you know, one guy after another. And by the way, some of the top guys are still on the board. And so because the top guys are still on the board, that means Texas in the hunt, Texas in the mix. So keep an eye on that. So shout out to the staff. And shout out to you guys. Have a drink, toast to them as they continue to recruit well. So let's talk about Big 12 Media Days. That's happening, obviously, today. I won't be there tomorrow. I'm not going to be there tomorrow. I was thinking about going, but I was like, what do you guys want to know from day 2? And what will you care about? And the honest answer was nothing. I couldn't think of anything that you guys really, really wanted to see from day 2. So I just had to tell myself, all right, man, get everything you can in day 1. Get everything you can compile, and then just head home and just call it a day. And that's what I absolutely did. It was, and we'll do as of tomorrow. So let's talk about today. Let's start with an analogy that I have been using as relates to the Texas football team and the Big 12. And the one thing the analogy that I've used because it hits so home for me, because I've done it multiple times, is I've used the divorce analogy. I have used the divorce analogy to describe Texas, and to a certain degree Oklahoma as well, because they're going to be leaving the Big 12. And I've used a divorce analogy. And as relates to Texas and the Big 12, the divorce has been agreed upon. Like the divorce is agreed upon. Everybody's agreed how to split the assets. Everybody's agreed how to split the house. Like all those things have been agreed upon. Now it's just a matter of this whole thing being finalized, and then everyone gets to go their way. Like, yes, you agreed to sell the house, but you still got to live with each other. You know what I'm saying? Yes, you agreed to split up your assets, but you still have to share the bank account for the time being. Like, you've agreed to everything, joint custody, all those kind of things, but you're waiting. That's where we're at now. And so what happens in those situations, because Unc is an expert in this one, what happens in those situations is that you have to put on a good face for the family, and of course for your friends. So when you're around in public and people ask about that person and you're about to get divorced, this and that, you for the most part don't throw that person under the bus. For the most part, you just try to keep it just like, hey, it didn't work out. We wanted it to, but it didn't, and it's okay. It's going to be all right, right? That's what the people tell each other, right? That's what the people tell that. So everyone, so no, because not everyone wants everyone in their business, right? That happens, and every once in a while, whether it's to your friends, or to you, kind of let something out, and you go and you slip. And I felt like that's exactly what happened today. Because when Texas started out, or rather when the Big 12 media day started out, it really started out really nice and friendly. I'm here. I'm here in Arlington, right? It started out nice and friendly. And when Yormark, who by the way is really good at what he does, I tweeted this out today, but I'll say it here tonight. If Brett Yormark had been the commissioner instead of Bob Bowlesby several years ago, Texas may still have left to go into the SEC. OU still may have left to go into the SEC, but he would have been good enough to make them just think about it a little bit more. Because under Bowlesby, there was no thought at all. But under Bowlesby, you just told yourself you just got to get the hell out of here. Whereas you just didn't want to be a part of it. There was no vision. There was no forward thinking. There was no appeal to the youth. It was literally just business as usual. Now the Big 12 will tell you great things about them. And I'm not here to make this whole thing that Bowlesby and I'm not going to just crap on the man. I guess in some ways I am. But he never moved the conference forward when he had the opportunity to do it. He did it on a reactionary basis when Texas and OU decided to leave. Because the cash cow just said to themselves, we're just not going to continue to do this for you. And so they left. Or at least decided to leave, announced that they left. They bring Yormark in. And he starts talking about all these initiatives, the Big 12 Mexico and things that they're doing, and he announces that they reached an agreement, extension agreement with AT&T Stadium, and how that they're going to keep the Big 12 game there until like 2030, right? So you can see like all the things that he's doing. He's talking about during the Big 12 championship game, they're going to have a concert that's going to be there. They're going to bring in a national artist and. I think it's something SEC did last year, but nonetheless, they're going to be doing that, and and they'll have an announcement, kind of like a Super Bowl thing, like to hype it up. They've got 4 teams coming in, like you can see, like dude's doing it, like Yormark is on it. You look at this thing, you're like, man, he's got it. Like he does his presentation today. He did it with certain breaks. He literally did it. It was almost like the first he had a couple of different ones, and the first one was like Tony Robbins, right? All that was missing was the headset because he was literally on stage with some notes and he was just walking around, just freestyling it. Like he literally was like the Tony Robbins of of conference commissioners and stuff. I mean, it was really impressive. I'm not gonna lie. And then he sits down with someone and they ask him questions, right? And he's there, he's engaging. I'm sure all those questions were, pre-planned, so not a problem. But he gets to sell the conference. I'm telling Yormark, smart. This dude's on. I'm listening to him like, man, this guy's that guy. Who's that guy? Who is he? Like he is he, right? And then he starts talking to the media, and he does a brilliant thing, right? Small but brilliant. So you as a media member, you have to identify yourself. Like, hey, it's Alma Richardson from Orangebloods.com. And whoever it was, he's Alma Richardson, and I didn't get a chance to ask him a question. But if it had been me, Alma Richardson, Orangebloods.com, he'd say, "Hello, Alma, how you doing?" He addressed every single reporter by name. Do you know how when someone like acknowledges like that? How that kind of makes you feel, like not all of a sudden you're like, man, this guy kind of cool. He was so cool. To start off, right? Wait for it. So he's so cool. And I like this dude. I'm telling you, I like Yormark. I really do. And then someone asked Yormark about Texas and OU and and basically like how do you guys kind of plan to kind of replace the rivalry games, the Red River rivalry, this and that, and so he starts off again. He's like, he's cool, he's like, man, those are national brands. They're part of the history of the conference, and he's like, but like I said, like there's no the conference there's is bigger than any two schools, but we're in a great place, so on and so forth. You're like, all right, that's all right, nothing wrong with that. You kind of expect them to say that. Um, and that was really on the podium, really kind of only thing that you said, well, that was a little bit of shade, but overall, it was okay. And then he went off the podium. And then all of a sudden, off the podium, people start asking him questions because he got asked a lot of Texas OU questions while he's on the podium. And again, this is a guy he was saying the right things at first, right? He was saying like any parent would, hey, Texas and OU, hey, we reached a deal that worked out best for both of us, right? That we reached a deal that worked out best for him. And that's what he kind of said. Now, my attorney said the best divorce is one where both people feel like they got the worst end of the stick. Because he goes, if both people feel like they got the worst end of the stick, then it's probably the best divorce. Just gonna put that out there. Hopefully, for you, if you don't get divorced, say that for somebody who one of your friends, if that does happen to them, share that with them. So when they start feeling something way, and they're the other person is like, hey, well, that's the perfect divorce. And he says, like, hey, it worked out best for both parties. Everyone's happy, right? And so again, what is that? You tell that to the kids, right? Hey, guess what? Guess what, kids? I know mommy and dad are getting divorced, but you know what this means? 2 Christmases. You're gonna have presents everywhere, right? You try to sell it that it's so good. It's gonna be a good thing for everybody. But and then he got off the podium, and someone asked him, and someone pushed the right button because he said, that someone asked him about OU and Texas, kind of, carrying the conference in recruiting, and about that loss and what that was going to look like. And Yormark says, I don't think they've carried a conference in recruiting. They haven't been in our championship game for the past few years. Damn. I mean, we can hear you, Yormark. Like, we standing right here. You said that on purpose. They're not, and that is the thing that is so interesting because at Texas, all we talk about is the recruiting and super blue chips and all those kind of things. And then there's other people who look at it. Like sometimes I do, but I don't look at it from a hater's perspective. But the other folks look at it and say, man, look at all those super blue chip guys, and they ain't winning with them. What does that mean when it's all said and done? And so that Yormark kind of just put in that like boom, that little stinger real quick just to let you know, like, hey, Texas ain't all that. And then it just continued and continued, from there. And then you kind of felt like a little bit of it. Like I said, when they started talking about the national brands, you talked about that, and then I tell you who really, 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 really got that smoke today. The team that really got that smoke from the departing teams, like Texas got a little smoke, like no lie. Like Texas got a little bit of smoke from some people today, but OU got all of it from Mike Gundy. I don't know if you guys heard what Mike Gundy said, but I'm going to tell you what Mike Gundy said today because Mike Gundy was on it. I'm going to have a little bit of a drink before I get into what Mike Gundy said because Mike Gundy was on a straight, I'm throwing up middle fingers. I don't care anything about OU. And he's always been like that. He's always been like that. But boy, recently, when this team is going, he's all about that. I don't give a damn about that program. So let's go ahead. And yes, You guys would definitely need to check on Rodolfo because I need a welfare check on my boy. I need to make sure that he's okay. So Mike Gundy, who's so fascinating to me in so many different ways, but he gets asked about the game. And someone asked him, which is I thought was a very fair question. Very fair question. They asked him, "Hey, would you entertain the idea from OU and Oklahoma State playing them as a non-conference game?" Very fair question. It's the same question that Texas and Texas A&M has been asked for years. Very fair question. Like, hey, why not continue a historic rivalry, Bedlam? We all know what this means. Like, well, go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it. You can do it as a non-conference game. The same thing I would always ask every single year. You can do Texas A&M as a non-conference game. It's pretty easy. And Mike Gundy did a Shaq, Kobe, tell me how my blank tastes kind of reaction, because he said this. And allow me to read the entire quote to you, because you may not have seen it, but I'm going to make sure I give it to you. Would you entertain the idea from your perspective, Oklahoma State in playing Oklahoma as a non-conference game? Mike Gundy says no. We have 9 conference games scheduled. Then he says, and then we have, I think, through 15 years, we're scheduled all the way up. So we're full for the most part. And we have Power 5 teams. And this is where Mike Gundy says, you know what? Let me dig myself in a little bit here. He goes, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. Oklahoma State is not going to change what we do because Oklahoma chose to leave and go to the SEC. Whew. He said they need to change what they do because they're the ones that made up their mind to go to the SEC. Oh my God, doesn't this sound like Texas and Texas A&M? Whoo, this sounds like Texas and Texas A&M all over again. So he goes, so with all the talk from the administration and people saying that Oklahoma State needs to do this and that, all Oklahoma had to do was not go to the SEC. So it is what it is. Then Gundy goes deeper in this. He goes, we can cut right to the chase. Man, listen. Where you from? Where from? Someone says, hey man, let's just cut to the chase. That really, you know what that means. Mike Gundy, only thing missing from Mike Gundy's speech today was the hand clap. That's all that was missing. You guys know what I'm talking about. Hey, dog, I know what you're trying to talk about, but you want to talk about Oklahoma and Oklahoma State playing each other? Well, guess what? Let's just cut to the chase. That's all that was missing from that. If you guys grew up around anyone who did something like this, you identifying with it, you catching a flashback, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That's all that was missing. A and the hand clap. That's all that was missing from what Mike Gundy was saying today. He said, look, we get right to the chase. For me, I want to listen to the board. I want to listen to the president. I'll listen to the AD. If that's something that they want to do, I'm good. Y'all, yeah. If they say we're not supposed to have beef, okay, I'm good. But, and we all know what that means. But negates everything I just said. And everything I just said before that, I just said the word but. But I don't think it's going to happen based on the way the scheduling is. Everybody needs to realize it. And here's his last sentence. It didn't have to happen if they didn't change leagues. Mike Gundy don't give a damn. Mike Gundy don't give a damn. So Texas, OU, so forget Bedlam. We don't give a damn. Forget all this, but they don't give a damn. Oh yeah, and there was another good question. I would say a good question. It was an interesting question. Kurt Bowles asked this question while we were out there today. The question was this. It is what he said. He says, Brett, in terms of the pecking order of the Power 5, where would you say the Big 12 is positioned right now for the future? And would it be better for the league if maybe somebody besides Texas and Oklahoma didn't win football this year? You know what Yormark said to the last part about it was it better for the league if Texas and Oklahoma didn't win football this year? You want to know what he said? You don't want to know what his response was? Nothing. That's what his response was. He could have said, "Hey, we was want the best teams to win. We must be like, I want everybody to kind of, let them go out on the high horse, like all that kind of stuff." He could have said any of that stuff. And he just ignored it. And you know what that means? He ignored it for a reason. Because the last thing, I'm going to tell you this. The last thing that Yormark wants is to be back in Arlington. Think about it. In Arlington and having to hand the Big 12 trophy over to the University of Texas. Oh my God. What? Could you imagine that the Big 12 commissioner would have to hand over the trophy to the University of Texas on their way out, just riding off in this glory? Yormark's cool dude, but I mean, he might bring some people from the Rock over here. I mean, they may have some people that just steal the trophy from Sarkisian out there in the parking lot. Like I don't know, Sark, you might just get jacked. I'm just saying, you might want to bring some reinforcements if you do that. There's no way the Big 12 wants Texas to win the championship in their final year. The thing that the Big 12 wants, and I've gathered it from everything today, it's really easy. Everyone in the Big 12 is trying to tell themselves that they are in a much better place now than they were before, and losing Texas and OU don't stop, because ain't no party like a Big 12 party, because a Big 12 party don't stop. That's what they're trying to tell you. That's what they want you to believe, that they're going to be all right. And the last thing you want is the last thing they want to happen is to see either Texas or OU walk away with a conference championship. Don't let them lie to you. Believe it. It would be the most disingenuous speech ever, if that happened. So just know that going in. So those are interesting things. The only other interesting thing from the podium that I'm going to talk about before I get into the Texas portion of it, because I'm going to give you some of my takeaways as far as that is concerned. It's interesting to listen to the Sonny Dykes talk, because Sonny Dykes said the quiet thing out loud. Sonny Dykes said, going into the last season, we were ranked like 7th in the preseason Big 12 poll. He goes, and I thought that was kind of too high. He's like, I didn't think we were that good. So then he started saying, like, at the beginning of the season, I didn't really think we were that good. And then middle season, we got a little bit better. And then by the latter part of the season, we were kind of good to great. But Sonny's like, man, I don't even think it was that good. And now Sonny's trying to do this thing that's the impossible. Sonny, and I say Sonny, Coach Dykes, I'll give him his respect of his title. Coach Dykes is trying to do this thing where he's trying to act like, man, we're just going to try to fly under the radar and just do what we do, because that's what worked last season. But what he doesn't understand is, hey, man, when you go to the national championship game, you can't come back next year and act like you just normal TCU. You just can't come back the next year and act like, hey, man, we just, hey, we just trying to do what we're trying to do, man. We just trying to get along, man. We just trying to. No, you can't do that. And Coach Dykes, like, I hear what you're trying to do. You want to say you want to fly under the radar and you're in this year, but no, you did it. You got there. You already made it happen. So guess what, Sonny? There's going to be everybody who's going to be gunning for you. No one's going to be sleeping on TCU. No one's going to look at TCU and say, man, I guess we'll see what happens. No, they're going to say, bring your A game. This was a team that competed for a national championship. I don't give a damn if they got the ass whooped when it was all said and done. They still competed competed for it. They got there. And so they're going to be looking at you. And so it's interesting when Sonny Dykes says, one of their themes for this season is going to be all steak, no sizzle, because he just wants everyone to just not, focus in on all the hype and the hoopla. And he just wants to fly under the radar. And it's like, yo, it's too late for all that. It's too late for all that, man. You've got to embrace it. And you got to know you're going to be the hunted. I don't give a damn if Texas is number one. You are going to be the hunted. Everyone's going to be gunning for you, and you better come prepared. You can tell them kids anything that you want. You can lie to them all that you damn near want to. Them young men know the truth. People are going to be coming for you. So Coach Dykes feels like he's got a lot of speed and everything like that coming back. We're going to see. We're going to see. And thank you, Ronnie. We're going to see. We're going to see if all that is true or not, and if they can repeat it. So let me talk to you guys from a Texas perspective. I want to tell you about the things that Unc saw out there from Texas. I'm going to give you some of my 5 biggest takeaways. And Unc have a little something. All right. And then let's keep the party started, or keep going at this point. I'm going to give you 5 takeaways from Texas. And it was and again in their final thing. And I'm going to give you the number one thing that stood out to me when I was there today. The number one thing that stood out to me. Number one. I got 5 things, but I'm going to give you number one. The number one is Sarkisian is not shying away from expectations this season. He is not. And it's interesting to me because when I've covered sports for years, and I got into this business, I want to say in like 94. Blake, our producer, may not have even been born. If he was, even baby. And most coaches shy away from expectations. The same way that Sonny Dykes, I just told you. The same way Sonny Dykes was like, man, I don't want us to talk about that thing. He wants to, like that doesn't exist. Most coaches are like that, like a Sonny Dykes. And what's interesting about Steve Sarkisian is like Steve Sarkisian is like, I want all that smoke. Steve Sarkisian, not one time this offseason, guys, not one time has Steve Sarkisian shied away from saying, bring it on. We are going to compete for a Big 12 championship this season. Not once. And I'm telling you guys, I've done this for years, decades. Most coaches shy away. Most coaches want to fly under the radar. Most coaches will tell you, like, don't bring those things on them. Most coaches will look at being ranked number one and try to tell you all the reasons why they shouldn't be ranked number one. And he's been the guy that says, you're damn right. Give us our props. Guess what? We're in Arlington today, and we're going to try to come back and be here in December. That's what he's telling you. He's over here like Hulk Hogan. Remember Hulkster? Remember Hulkster being in the ring? That's what he's like. He's saying to everybody, bring it on. Don't shy away from the expectations. This is your University of Texas. What he said today, University of Texas, this is what you came here for. So get ready. And you know what I like that? You know what I like about that so much? Because the thing that has ticked me off and really made me mad for all the years I've covered a team is when I've heard players give me this soft ass talk. And I'm talking about, they'll say soft ass stuff to me that says, well, we're the University of Texas and we always going to get somebody's best shot. And they act like they surprised that you're getting someone's best shot. It's what you signed up for. You signed up for this. So why are you acting surprised when you playing Texas Tech and TCU and Baylor's of the world? Why are you acting like, oh man, they running that, it's Texas. We're always going to get spot. Okay, we're going to get someone's best shot. You know who knows that? Alabama knows that. Georgia knows that. Clemson knows that. Notre Dame knows that. There's a lot of programs that know that. And you know what those programs do? They find a way to win because they understand that's what the expectation is. They understand that people are going to give them the best shot. You know what they understand? That if you hit me once, I'm going to hit you so damn hard that you're never going to hit me again. And that's what Texas has to be. And what I've noticed from Sarkisian, what I've seen from him, he's embracing that. Yeah. This is who we are. We're the villain. But guess what? We're badasses. And we're going to win this damn thing. And I like it. Be honest with you. I like it. I like what I'm seeing. I like what I'm feeling. So one thing I've noticed when I'm talking from today is that he's not shying away from it. He's not. He addressed the whole Big 12 thing. He addressed wanting to come back here. He addressed competing for a championship here, trying to win a championship here. Of course, he put the thing about the SEC to the background. You expect that. That's what Sark's supposed to do. But everything else, he's been saying, bring it on. This is what I talk to the team about all the time. And so that was a big takeaway from me, is that Sark is saying, even in this last season, it's time. Even in the last of this whole last one time around the sun, the last time around the sun, this is going to be it. And nobody's going to shy away from it. That's the beauty of what I saw today. It's an amazing thing. I give him props for that. So that's probably that's my first takeaway of something that stood out. The other thing that kind of stood out, a little bit, to me, and I have two Quinn takes, but the first one, and it kind of goes into like the non-shine away from thing, is that Sark is really put his stamp of approval on Quinn. Like that was probably a second kind of takeaway. And I don't want to say like it's a huge thing that surprised me and threw me off, and I just didn't know what happened. I didn't see it coming. Like, what the hell just happened here? Like, it's nothing to that effect. But what it really showed me today, kind of reinforced for me today, is that that's his guy. Like, he was asked about, hey, what about Quinn? And what about Quinn being kind of the guy that, many people project to be a first round pick? And he started saying, like, hey, man, listen, if Quinn lives up to, and I'm paraphrasing, if Quinn lives up to the things that I think he can do, I think then the pundits will be right. He will be a first round pick. I mean, say whatever you want to say about Sark. He is not lacking confidence right now. My man is not lacking confidence at all. Swag is at 100. Like, he is like, I'm telling you, like, he's right now, he's at that point, like, hey, wifey, I'll dress myself. Like, I'm good on my swag, right? He's really high on Quinn, because really what he talked about kind of in a breakout session is like, hey, one of the big things and the big competitions really, in training camp is going to be for the backup quarterback position, because Quinn's got that. Quinn's got number one. Everyone's battling for number two right now. And so so because of his confidence in Quinn, that shows me that everything that Quinn has been doing behind the scenes to become a better quarterback is met Sark's approval, to the point that if Sark is sitting here on Big 12 media days in July saying, if this guy does everything that I think he can do, he will be a first round pick. Not a draft pick, a first round pick. That means one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the country. That's his confidence. So that stood out for me. It has been, he obviously, when we got to after the spring, there was kind of a ribbon and bow in the quarterback competition. Like, it just was what it was. This was Quinn's job to be. And now we see it going forward. This thing still remains to be Quinn's job. And you see more and more confidence in Sark. And he also talked about the big playability and how confident he is with that. You can see that he feels like there's chemistry there, like all those kind of things. And he believes that Quinn is going to be a different quarterback. Stood out to me. Really did. Number 3, it's an interesting one for me, because he was asked about the running backs. And he was asked about who's kind of going to be the number 1 guy. And the thing that he said that was a little bit revealing was that he said, look, all these guys are talented. And he went down and he listed all the names. He listed the names of every single person. And he explained why they're talented, why he believed in them, why he liked them, so on and so forth. But he said that at the end of the day, how he's going to figure out who his number one guy is going to be the person that can handle the largest workload. The person that can, he said, he goes, I may have a guy, he may be on a guy that can handle 8 touches. He's trying to find and make sure he can find that guy that can maybe get to that 18, 20 plus mark. And so in training camp and maybe probably in the beginning portion of the season, you're going to probably see him rotating a couple of guys in and out. He kind of talked about that, kind of gave a little glimpse that it may not be from Jump Street as of today. Look, it's the 12th of July. We may get into August 12th, and he totally feels like I got my guy, I'm good to go. But right now, he's kind of been like, no, I don't know who my running back's going to be. Not quite sure who that running back's going to be yet. I've got to see who can handle the workload. That means probably those first 3 games are going to be important, but that Alabama game, that person that can show something in that Bama game probably ends up being the running back going forward. So whoever starts, and that's going to be my big takeaway, whoever starts the season at running back, it's not a guarantee that they're going to finish as a starter. I think we're going to see this thing in increments. You might see it in quarters. Well, my main quarters is 12 games in a season. So first quarter, second quarter, just dividing it up in 4. You might see someone kind of as that person in the first quarter of the season, first 4 games. And then somewhere in the second quarter of the season, you might see someone else. And then by the last half of the season, then that's going to be the person. And you can put on your bets all you want to if you believe it's going to be, Jonathan Brooks, whether you believe it's going to be a Trey Wisner, whether it be Cedric Baxter, whether it be Savion Red, Keelan Robinson. Like the list goes on as far as like the good running backs. I don't want to forget you, Jaden Blue. No disrespect to you, young man. You've done your damn thing all off season long. I've always been a fan. I salute you. There's a lot of good running backs that are there, and it's going to be the guys that are able to show him that I can carry this workload. That's going to be the guys that get it for Sark. And so he's made that clear. That's the barometer. That's what they're all going to be judged on. And we're going to see that going forward. Okay. So then we go to number 4. Number 4 thing that kind of stood out to me for Big 12 Media Days today. Quinn himself, going back to Quinn, different aspect of the Quinn conversation. He sounds and looks like a totally different quarterback. And when I say things like this, you have to understand, and I give you like a little bit of background. I go to every press conference. I don't miss one. I've covered this team since 2014. I don't know how many press conferences I've missed. Knock on wood. I don't know. I was somewhere around here in this damn hotel room. Y'all knock somewhere in y'all place. I get to see everything. I don't really miss anything. And I've probably heard every time Quinn has spoken since he's been here at University of Texas. So I could pick up on certain things. You talk to someone long enough, you get to hear them, so on and so forth. And so I'll start with a couple of things that I'll start with the tangible, like what you can see, right? So from a physical aspect, I looked at Quinn today. It's from I'm less than 4 feet away from him, maybe 5 feet at most. So I'm pretty close to Quinn during this whole thing. And I can look at him and I'm seeing a slender body. I'm seeing a guy who's definitely in better shape than he's ever been. And we'll get to the picture in a second, but he's in tremendous shape. He's been fantastic shape. You can see it from him, right? So I could just see it, but it's kind of like that lean muscle. You guys know I'm talking about, not like the runner muscle, but that lean muscle, those guys who work out, who could probably do a ton of reps, but you just, they're just not trying to get bulky, but you could tell, so you could see that from him. He started talking about his diet and how good how he had to focus in on his diet this offseason, how good that has gotten for him, right? And so the diet worked out really well from here. The workouts went well. And someone asked, of course, about the picture that went viral of all those guys, right? That came up, that ended up being a conversational topic. And what's interesting about what Quinn said was that, look, out early in the offseason, they made it a goal. They said to themselves, they're going to take a picture on June the 30th. And it's up to everybody to get in the best shape as they can. They let it be known this is the date. So it wasn't like just one day they're like, hey man, let's go ahead. No, it was from the beginning of all season. By the time they get to June the 30th, that was the mark that they said June 30th, it's got to be rocking and rolling. It is what it is. Your body is what it is. So you got that pressure, right? Because I was workout partners and you see Maalik working out and you're like, damn, I ain't standing next to him in this picture. Right? That's just, I'm not standing next to Maalik in this picture. And in fact, one of the things that Quinn had talked about in the session, he said Maalik always tries to tell people that he's 6'4". And they're like, man, you're 6'7". He always tries to keep telling them that he's 6'4". We saw the picture. That dude ain't 6'4". that dude is all of about 6'7". Like, show me the measurements about how big that guy is. So he kind of talked about that. And then the other thing, like Maalik, kind of talked about is, basically just kind of working a little bit. It's, smarter, not harder. But he said one of the things that Sark told him, this offseason, like, hey, man, don't try to hit the home run every time, and he said one of the Coach Sark's analogy is, you can't go broke while taking a profit. Sometimes, the downfield shot is not there. So just do the check down. The quote is, and let's hear this again because it's really good. He goes, you can't go broke taking a profit. I feel like a preacher that did that, right? You can't go broke taking a profit. So don't listen. If you get a check down, you've gained 3 yards, you've gained 4 yards, you gained 5 yards, like whatever the case is. Don't. It's okay if you don't hit the long shot. Just make sure you hit the shots that count. And so his mentality is changing. He's getting smarter about the game. Obviously, he's healthier. He's looking good. He's feeling good. He's becoming more of a leader. He's talked about the necessity to becoming more vocal. You can see it kind of coming in. Of course, and again, what I mentioned before, the praise that Sark that is important. And I noticed, and I think it's one thing. It's one of those reiteration things that we just got to make sure every single year you remind yourself of, which is Sarkisian does not worry about recruiting. He doesn't. No matter what happens, no matter where they're at, Sark is not worried about recruiting. He was kind of asked about those things, and I asked him about, hey man, you're starting to get some guys, and this is before the commitment tonight, so it was in the afternoon, and he told me, he said, look, we have zeroed in on the players that we want, and sometimes it takes a little bit more due diligence. It says, so, but it takes a little more time. They like to do the due diligence. They want to see a player on tape. And so then it said they start diving into like the person, the character, the work ethic. Those are the things that they start diving into. So he said that, look, our process might take a little bit longer than others. He said they sell their team, they sell the culture, they sell the schemes, they sell the trajectory, they sell the education, like they sell the city of Austin. He's like, these things take a little bit of time. But he said, hopefully with the commitments that they've gotten lately, he said, just let you know, that's not the end. I didn't know it was going to be a few hours later that we get a little bit more. And this is what he said. We've got a few more to come. And guess what happened a few hours later? He gets a commitment, from Melvin. So, yes, the one thing I've learned about Sark that's very important is that he is not worried about recruiting. And here's the other last important thing that's kind of a light thing. Big 12 Media Days is over. It's over. No, it's have it tomorrow. Don't worry about it. You won't be worried about it. My internet is messing up. So let me go ahead and get off right now. Get off while the getting's good, because I'm in this hotel room. And here we go. So listen, remember what I say. Live each day like it was your last, because one day it will be. And we shall talk soon. Y'all care. I'll see you next week.